Good morning, everyone.
Such dramatic music.
It is such dramatic music. And welcome back to Dev Chat. It's good to see everybody again.
It's been a while.
It's been a while. Developer here at Privateer Press, and with me is my boss, Schoonover, Development Manager, Head of Development Management.
Yeah.
Development Management Managing Head.
All those things.
And Tony Konachek is our video producer who's putting on the stream. Hi, Tony.
He's waving right now.
So we've got a lot of cool stuff to talk about today. Let's get to the news real quick, and then we're just going to jump right into it. Mm-hmm. So let's start with our stream schedule. So we stream on Wednesdays, 10 a.m. Pacific. Mm-hmm. That's what you're watching now. So usually Oz and I, though sometimes Jeff Olson will be on. Mm-hmm. And that's where we talk about usually what's going on with the game. Previously have been a lot of CID chats. Now you're going to see, we'll be talking about leading into Oblivion, talking about upcoming themes and changes happening with Oblivion.
Yep.
Then Thursdays is Get Your Paint On with Jordan Lamb, where Jordan paints and talks to all of you about hobbying. Then we have 2 monthly shows, Staff Showdown, basically live battle reports. You and I did
Riot Quest. Yeah, we did one on Thursday because Friday was weird last week. So we squeezed one on Thursday to show people Riot Quest.
And I'm pretty sure the next one will be Riot Quest as well, because Riot Quest is pre-releasing at Gen Con and then in stores shortly after. And then we also have Primecast Live monthly when we can, because I don't even know if we had one last month because of Lock and Load.
No,
we did the keynote instead of Primecast Live, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and this month is weird because of 4th of July is this week, and if you're not from America, we're taking off some days this week, so it's going to throw off the schedule. That's why Jordan's not back yet.
No,
because Thursday is a day out of the office, and so the Get Your Paint On will be returning, but not this week.
Okay. Then let's talk about the mini crate stuff right now. So, there is obviously the War Machine Hordes mini crate line. Mm-hmm. Right now, Midsummer Night's Dream is the alternate Orin you can order. You have till July 19th to pick that up. Bride of Arcadius is still the VIP model, at least until August 19th.
Yep.
So if you get a 6-month sub, even if you start with Midsummer Night's Dream, you'll still get Bride of Arcadius. So make sure you do that. For the Legend of the Five Rings mini crate, this is the last week to order Togashi Kazue. Kazue.
Togashi. I like kazoo. I wish I had a kazoo and this pig.
No, I don't wish you had more noisemakers.
That'd be amazing.
And then we announced at Lock and Load our third mini crate line, the Savage mini crate, which the works of Robert E. Howard. We're talking Conan, we're talking Solomon Kane, Cole the Conqueror, all that good stuff, right?
Yep.
So Dark Agnes is the first model available. She's good till August 12th. And if you do a VIP subscription in your next shipment, you will get King Conan on the throne, buy 12 of them, put them on everything.
Yeah. Now, and also, there might be people out there who'd be like, well, I don't want old Conan sitting on a chair. I want, badass, muscly Conan in his prime, swinging a sword. Don't worry, there'll be other Conan sculpts.
Yeah, I'm sure.
This is just the first one to be the classic Conan on a chair. Look at how old he is.
Yeah, there's a few classic Conan poses, right?
Yeah.
And the original art for Lord Carver, right? You look at Lord Carver in the furs sitting on the throne with his sword pointed down. It's very much Conan, very much inspired by Conan.
But yeah, you'll get a whole bunch of other Robert E. Howard people, good guys and bad guys from the stories. We saw some concept art this week of a really cool villain from a Conan story. I'm not going to spoil yet. We'll talk about it later.
Oh, yeah. So for those of you joining us, apparently Facebook's having issues, so looks like we're only live on Twitch right now. So if you have anybody trying to get to watch on Facebook, you can let them know we're up on Twitch. And of course, if you're watching this later on YouTube and you miss any live stream and you want to watch them, all the videos go up on YouTube on our Privateer Press Prime page, so you can always catch on whatever we're going over. Mm-hmm. Shall we get into it?
Let's open some books. And
I want to talk about two things. I want to talk about how the theme forces work for those of you that missed the keynote. And then I want to talk about a balance update coming with Oblivion. So Oblivion is pre-releasing at Gen Con, and it comes out in September. If you've missed it, Oblivion is a big campaign expansion set that's going to come with a revised rules digest that's going to have changes to the core rules. Not a ton, but things like Hills and Elevation no longer existing. Other things like that. War Beast packs no longer existing. War Beast packs are being redeveloped into just lesser War Beasts.
Yep, that still have synergies with each other, but
idea,
are not what they were.
The idea was to simplify and to fix several aspects of the game that were things that we felt were either outdated or we no longer wanted to be in there. But in addition, you'll get the Hermit of Hengehold model. You'll get a deck of cards to play with the narrative campaign that comes in the book, and you'll get the Oblivion book, which has just a massive amount of fluff and art in it. It has the entire narrative campaign and all the rules to play it, and it's got the Theme Force remix.
Yeah.
So all of the theme forces and the way theme forces are being approached is being completely redone. For the most part, most theme forces kept their same army composition. Some changed, and we'll talk about the ones that changed. But in general, if you are playing a theme force now, the models you have for your theme force, they're going to work exactly the same. In many cases, you're actually going to get access to more models. But the benefits changed. The previous theme forces was take 20 points of X unit or X warjack and then unlock a free solo, right? It was always take X points of something, unlock Y for free. What this led to was a bit of a real restriction on list building. Everyone felt like, well, I've got to maximize my free options, so therefore I'm locked into playing this. And we'll use like Wolves of Winter as an example, the Doom Reaver theme force, which gave you points for your Doom Reaver model/units. So if you wanted to run a jack-heavy Doom Reaver list for any specific reason, you were really kind of penalized because you weren't maxing out on your Doom Reavers.
Yeah, you get 1 free point instead of 3 free points or whatever.
So where it works now is the requisition system. So every theme force has a menu. This menu might have things like 1 free medium base solo, or 1 free command attachment, or 3 of a certain type of weapon attachment, or 2 of this very specific solo. At 25 points, you get 1 requisition point, and you spend that point on anything on that menu you want to. And you just follow whatever it is it says you take, and if it's got options, you choose an option. At 50 points, you get 2 choices, and at 75 points, you get 3. I think it doesn't start until like 100 and 125 point games that you start getting 4.
Yeah, if you're playing really big games, you can get more than 3.
Yeah.
But the standard is 25, 50, 75 is 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, exactly. And what this does is it really, really opens up list building a lot in that you're still within the theme force, you're playing within the restrictions of the models you can take, but you can take that combination of models in any way you want to now and still get the free models. And it puts everybody on an even keel. Plus, when you did the spread of free points across theme forces, some theme forces in the current system would easily get 18 to 20 points. And some theme forces would struggle to get 8, for example. Like if you look at Cephalix playing like a monstrosity-heavy Siphon list, right? Like you barely ever got anything free out of that, and it was rough. This should put everybody on a much more even playing field, and also just allow for that creativity to return.
And the speed, because you just put things in your army that you want, and then you're like, and that thing, and I add this thing for free. It isn't, well, okay, I'm at 59 points. I need to move something around to get 1 more point so that I can get a 3rd free solo.
No,
it's just
add it.
Easy.
It's super easy. And the requisition options, you can choose the same one over and over again. So say that you had a menu that was 1 free medium base solo, 3 weapon attachments, or 1 command attachment. If you had 3 requisition points, you could take 3 command attachments for free if you wanted to. You can choose them over and over again.
Yeah.
So that's coming with Oblivion. And what we're going to do when Oblivion launches, this is the plan we're working on right now. So I'm not giving a definitive date because we've got to work some stuff out. Is that War Room will have a toggle on it, and the toggle will say pre-Oblivion or post-Oblivion. What it'll allow you to do is you can play with the game as it exists before Oblivion theme forces came out, or after Oblivion theme forces come out. This toggle will go away at a date later this year, and it'll be after the WTC, it'll be after September. The reason we're doing that is because we understand this is a massive change, and there's going to be a bunch of events happening right around Gen Con. Obviously, WTC is right around the corner, and we wanted to give all the EEOs and all the tournaments the option of being able to run their event pre or post Oblivion so that they weren't screwed over, and so that the players felt they weren't, they had time to prepare. So if the EO says, hey, we're doing new theme forces, then all the players know, but the option exists for you so that you can do whatever you're more comfortable with. With this is also coming a dynamic update. This didn't get CID'd. This is just, we have mentioned many times that we're going to do dynamic updates, that CID is definitely not required for them. And what we're doing is we're going to put out adjustments, I would say mostly minor adjustments, to a variety of models across various factions.
Yeah, and these are primarily things that have not been CID'd.
Agreed.
It isn't 100%. There is some other balance tweaks in there. But it's primarily things that haven't seen a CID yet.
Yeah, these are things that we've tested a lot that we were going to put into CID, but we're happy with where they are anyway. They don't really need the CID.
Yeah.
So, for example, it was like Thornfall Alliance, a Pharaoh, never got a CID. You're going to see a lot of changes to the Thornfall models, and these are usually like minor changes. It could be point cost, a couple new abilities, maybe stats bumped around. Don't expect massive overhauls to anybody.
So I'm going to write a Hammer Strike theme force pretty soon, maybe today.
Yeah.
Just like Jeff's Insider that just went up yesterday, talking about some of those points adjustments and that kind of stuff, and building a new list the way the new list works. So
Yeah.
we're going to do a series of insiders and dev talks about this entire change.
So in addition to those, there are a few other select models that did receive CIDs that we've decided to adjust. So some people are getting some buffs, and some people are getting what we'll just call anti-buffs. Some people...
Is it anybody in particular?
I don't
that
think
could
anyone's...
be getting an anti-buff?
I think no one's going to be super surprised by the changes we're
No
making. They're not like massive nerf hammers. Like, don't expect someone to be just broken to the ground. Like, they're anti-buffs. Sometimes the raven doesn't fly as far, and sometimes your arms just aren't as long. You'll figure it out.
What could you possibly? You're talking about the old witch.
Definitely, I'm definitely talking about the old witch.
Old witch 2 has like birds all over her.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Is that what you're talking about?
That's what I'm talking about. So, I want everyone to know that this balance update is coming around Oblivion. We're not given the exact date because, again, there's a lot of stuff we got to sort of figure out and solve with it, but it's going to be nearby. And like Oz said, if you see a model that you feel needs an update that doesn't get one of this, we're going to do more dynamic updates. We're going to do more in the future.
Yeah.
You know, there will be CIDs again in the future, but there's some stuff that got their CIDs that we needed to update things that didn't. There's only so much limited time to be able to properly test and balance these things. So if you're like, why didn't this model and this theme force get it, and that theme force had a CID, that's probably why.
Yeah, and also the more recent the CIDs, the less we wanted to change, because there are people that just bought an army and they've been playing it for like 2 months, and we didn't want to be like, oh, we're changing all that around.
Yes.
But things that were farther back, and especially, like we've said, things that didn't ever get a CID, those are the things we were looking at more.
Yeah, and to clarify, Marco Berry asking if this update's around Gen Con at the end of September. We're aiming for around Gen Con, but again, there's so much going on right now. We were basically come out of lock and load, going into Gen Con. We have a lot of just development work going on between Monster Apocalypse, Riot Quest, Warcaster, and War Machine, then entering all this stuff into doing all the data entry and the reconfiguration of War Room, and then the update, and then just testing and playtesting everything. So we're shooting for Gen Con, but stuff happens. Yeah. So that's why we're not giving any hard dates on when that will be, when the CIDs will start up again. Just know that this is all coming relatively soon, and we're going to talk about a few of them today. So what I want to talk about today is a couple theme forces and some associated balance changes that are coming with those theme forces. I'm going to actually crack open the Oblivion book to my handy dandy little note here.
Before we go on, Tony, can you do me a favor? Can you scoot the chat like 6 inches on our screen over when so when Facebook died, Tony made the Twitch chat full, but your names were behind the camera, so I didn't want to be missing people's names as they scrolled by real fast. Thank you.
Oh, everyone's trying to enhance on the book.
Enhance.
I'm just going to show you this part. So
everyone's seen that art. It's right behind us.
Let's talk about Storm Division together. So Tony, would you pop Storm Division up on the screen?
There it is.
So here we get a look at Storm Division for Cygnar. So when you look at the unit breakdown of what you can take, it's a lot of what you expect.
It's Storm Division, yeah.
Cygnar casters, non-character warjacks, Brickhouse Dynamo Thunderhead, mechanic models, then Storm Knights, Storm Smiths, Journeyman Warcaster solos, Allison, Acosta, and Squires. You also get to take one Merc solo and one Merc unit that will work for Cygnar. Remember, now you can take those, and because you're not paying specific points for things, you can take those. And I think that's another thing that really opens up the list building is the ability to be like, yeah, I'm just going to add a unit of the Order of the Illumination Resolutes, for example. And it not penalize me effectively and take away from my ability to get free options. And I think that's going to be really, really cool. Here we see the requisition list as an example. So you get to take either a Stormsmith weapon crew, one Cygnar command attachment, any Cygnar command attachment, by the way. It has to work for the theme, obviously. 3 Stormsmith Stormcallers as one requisition point, or one other small or medium-based Cygnar solo. So if you're playing a 25-point game, you choose one thing off this menu. At 50 points, you choose 2 things. It could be the same thing twice. And at 75 points, you get three requisition points. And it works as simple as that.
Yeah, normal FAs apply. So, a character or a weapon crew if it's FA2 or whatever. But that's the only restriction now on that list is normal field allowances.
So we see the two benefits. Cygnar models gain immunity to electricity, and Storm Knight models gain unyielding, which is new. Additionally, as part of the balance update, we went through all the Storm Knight models that are in this Theme Force, and we are making various adjustments to them. So you're going to see some point drops, and you're going to see some, I think, POW increases, if I'm not mistaken. But you're going to see changes coming. That's not the only changes we're making, though. And I want to let everybody know, nobody in Storm Division got anti-buffs.
Are you sure?
I am sure.
Okay.
It was just buffs.
There are no birds in that list.
There's no birds in that list.
Okay.
But I want to make it clear that some of the changes we make aren't specifically just for Theme Forces that didn't get CIDs. Like Storm Division never got a CID. We went through everything. We're just making those changes. But obviously, there's been a lot of talk about the Colossals for Cygnar and their point values.
Yes, because we have CID'd a lot of Colossals, but we haven't done every single one of them in a CID.
Yeah. So we reviewed the Colossals versus the other Colossal changes, where everyone else was pointed at, and we dropped the point value on both the Storm Wall and the Hurricane.
Yes.
So the new point value of the Storm Wall is now 36 points, and the new point value of the Hurricane is 35 points. This all goes into effect whenever the Cygnar, when the Oblivion balance update occurs. So those aren't live yet. They'll be live whenever the balance change happens.
So there's a question in the chat about the wording of that fourth benefit. The reason it says other small or medium-based solos is because it also lists Stormsmith, Stormcaller solos.
Yes.
So it's saying these specific solos, and the fourth benefit is any other solo. So it doesn't have to be a particular model. It can be Jake's. It can be whatever.
Acosta, whatever it might be.
But it only says other because the list also includes a specific kind of solo.
Yeah. So the Stormwall and the Hurricane, no, they don't get any changes the way they work. We are happy with what they do, but they just cost a little bit too much. So we shaved off points off the top of them. You'll see a lot of that in the Oblivion dynamic update when it hits. Is stuff like that.
Yeah. It's just like we've been doing as CIDs have gone by with other Gargantuans and Colossals. Is we're like, let's take 2 points off that one and that kind of stuff.
So someone asked about Stormsmith Grenadiers as a free option. No, and one thing I want to when we were doing all the Theme Force benefits, we went through the point range of where you would end up based on what you could take. And there was a max limit that we created that was, in general, most Theme Forces adhere to the max limit. There are a few exceptions, and they were very, very specific. They were Theme Forces that kind of one of their benefits is that they could get more max points. In general, most Theme Forces will get 16 to 18 free points at the 75-point level of a game. And that's if you take some of your more expensive options. You may not want your more expensive options because what you're taking may work better otherwise. But let's say you take 3 6-point options. You're looking about 16 to 18 in general, right? Because not everyone has 3 6-point options they want to take. There are a couple Theme Forces that get around the 20 to 21 range. They're very minimal. And again, they're very specific which ones do that.
Yeah, and we also adjusted the other special rules of those. If they can go a little higher on models, then their special rules are not quite as game impacting.
Yep. There's a lot of call out for spoilers right now. One thing I want to make everyone clear is that we're not going through everything. We do want to sort of be very measured in what we talk about so that everyone sort of understands. We don't want to just dump everything out there. We want to talk about our intent behind every one of them and really, really go through it and explain where we're coming from so that when the release happens, people get to see it. And the more previews are coming. We've got a ton of insiders coming up. You mentioned you're doing a Hammer Strike one.
Yep.
I've written a Thornfall Alliance one that's coming up. Every dev chat between now and Gen Con is going to be based off this. So basically for the next month, if you go to the website and if you watch the dev chats, we're going to be talking about all kinds of stuff constantly. So just keep an eye on us and keep watching the social media and keep watching the website and watching the streams. You'll catch up on everything. Yes, Solson says there's going to be a Trolls Insider. Yeah, Faye wrote a Troll Insider about Creel Company. So there's a lot of cool stuff coming up, everybody. But today we're talking about Storm Division. And then why don't we go ahead and let me actually flip to the page real fast and let me hold the book in such a way that nobody can.
It'd be really,
if this book turns around
really,
for
really
a split
hard
second,
to zoom in on the tiny window in window
no, it wouldn't.
in this
no, it wouldn't.
stream.
Friggin' internet, dude. Our community,
What is the resolution?
Our community is full of
What's the
really
resolution
smart
of our
people.
streams? Are we at like 1080 or are we like at?
Yeah, we're at 1080.
Okay, so we're pretty high
Our
res.
community has really smart people. Okay, if you put this stuff in front of the internet for a split second, it's just zoom and enhance, zoom and enhance. Like if I could literally fold over part of Creator's Might, just like that, and I'm sure they know the
Now
whole
they know
theme
the whole
force
theme
right
force?
now.
Yep. They already found it.
Like, right. So we talked about what we want to talk about for Cygnar, and again, there's a lot of cool stuff coming up for the storm-related units in terms of point drops and some cool enhancements, right? The other theme force I want to talk about, which is an example of one that changed a little bit, is Jaws of the Wolf.
Just a little bit. It's right there on the screen.
Jaws of the Wolf, Khador theme force. And here we see what it can take. And you'll notice there's a couple additions in terms of like character jacks that are allowed. So you got Khador Warcasters, not character jacks, then Behemoth Black Ivan, base.
Yep.
Black Ivan previously not being part of that. You get your battle mechanics, Cossites, Kyazi, Widowmakers, Greylord Adjuncts, Greylord Forge Seers, Manhunters, War Dogs, Yuri, and then solos with battle group commander or controller, and then you still get to take a Merc solo or unit. Your requisition options are a free Kyazi Eliminator unit,
which is substantially different than the way this theme force used to work.
and that's one of those examples I was talking about, a theme force that, I mean, they're FA2, so you can't max out on 3 of them, right? But this is an option of something that is a little bit more expensive in terms of a free option that you can take. Then you could take a Khador command attachment, and you could take one smaller medium-based solo. All Khador warjacks in the army gain Pathfinder, and you get to place an AoE, a 5-inch AoE that is a forest.
You get to create that forest that you can go through, and maybe your enemy can't.
Yes.
That for like that choke point or whatever.
So again, this is a theme force that I would say didn't really get a full CID. So we went through the options you could take, and I want to talk about something a little bit different. Is to give you another example of some point drops we did that they're minor but impactful. So Cossites. We just dropped them to 610 in the upcoming balance update.
Yep.
So they are now super, super cheap. No other rules changes. They still do what they do, but they cost basically nothing. They're literally 1 point a model, so that they're 610. You'll notice that the lack of ambush ability has been taken away. In general, most theme forces lost that, and also the plus 2 inches of deployment and the advanced moves in general are basically all gone.
There's still a little bit of it,
Yeah,
but
there's a
mostly,
handful.
We wanted to basically future-proof other development to keep away from like turn 1 kills and all those complicated things that when 2 armies are closer together, you have to consider all those more things.
Yeah, no, like when you are alpha struck, bottom of 1, right? Or definitely top of 2 when somebody just runs across the board because their deployment options are so good. Like it was just a little too much. So we removed most all those. Another example that's actually not relevant to this, but I want to bring up is one that, like, for example, doesn't have anything to do with Jaws of the Wolf, but we did touch on a few other things, like Assault Commandos. Assault Commandos, we're happy with what they do. They were a little bit too expensive, so we dropped them to 915. They just went down in points just a little bit to just make them a little bit more affordable in comparison to where other people are on things like Winter Guard and other single wound infantry and what they can do. So Assault Commandos at 915, not a groundbreaking change, but just a solid, good change for list building.
Yeah, and we have CID'd so many things in the last 2 years that we went through and passed on a bunch of stuff, and we're like, this thing is probably a bit too expensive compared to these other 4 things that have been CID'd, especially things in the faction, those kind of conversations. So we had a couple of days of meetings of just going through models and saying, well, what do we think about this model in the current game compared to where it was when the 3rd version launched back in 2016, and what has been adjusted and what hasn't been adjusted and that kind of stuff. So you can look for a lot of little things like that are going to change across the entire
But I do
game.
want to make it clear that we definitely didn't touch everything.
No,
and so if you see some stuff come out and like it, don't expect a full game remix, anything like that. We know the game has changed a lot since the launch of Mark III, and we know that the CID cycle was particularly aggressive, and the game was just like changing. Things have to slow down. They just have to, so that people have time to settle, and so that people can begin understanding the meta and not trying to constantly adapt to the most recent thing that just happened. And so we're going to look at doing balance updates on, with a nice little interval between them that address a variety of things that we're looking to make better. I'm not going to say twice a year or any kind of set schedule, but don't expect them like monthly or every 2 months or every 3 months. And previously with the CIDs, you were getting these errata updates to a lot of old stuff with every single CID, so it was kind of tied to the release schedule. And it turns out that's too damn fast. Like,
but also
too much.
Everything that's releasing as part of this book.
Yes.
From Infernals to Orb of Illumination and the Thamarites and all that stuff, the Archons, it's all been CID'd. We had a bunch of questions, and I'm going to keep answering this question every time I get a chance. People are like, well, but where's the next CID? Well, when you release 5 Tharn models, that's a month. And then you release 4 models for another faction and 4 models. There are something like 37 models between Infernals and all the other things, the Orb of Illumination and stuff.
Yes.
So that's just more months of releases. So we're not really changing anything drastically about the release cycle. We're just changing how things are related and how we CID them.
Yep.
So we're just going to release a whole bunch of stuff that we've already CID'd, so we don't need to CID brand new stuff for a little while.
Yep.
Not that we're not going to CID brand new stuff, ever again.
Yeah.
But it's just we don't have to do it right away because this stuff covers the release schedule for quite a while.
So JP Great, when you're talking about the Storm Division Theme Force earlier, he's asking, want to know what Storm Guard got changed to. Actually, multiple things that work in that Theme Force, especially all the units had some changes in them. So we're saving a lot of that bigger information until everyone gets all of their toys at once. We're just going to be doing sort of previews via the dev chats and the insiders, letting people know a couple aspects and then kind of talking about where we're going with it. So it's measured spoilers instead of trying to dump everything at once.
You want to answer the darkness question?
No, I think you just did.
Did I?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So that's what we wanted to cover today. Mm-hmm. Do you have anything else you want to add?
No, not really. Since we're not and the chat's going to explode now with, what about this? What about this? How about points? What did you do? And like we said, we're not going to go through the entire list of 1,100 models and talk about every single points thing. We are just going to give you some Theme Force updates in the next couple of weeks and insiders and stuff, and talk about the relevant models with that thing without explaining every single thing.
Yep. So somebody asked, when's the Thornfall Insider going out? The Thornfall Insider is going out this week.
I don't know the release.
They told me it's this week.
Schedule.
And the people asking about convergent stuff. I mean, everybody got reviewed in this. Not everything, like we said, not every faction, every single unit, everything will get touched. And is there new stuff coming up for convergence? I mean, we saw the spoiler.
Well, we
saw the teaser at the end of the keynote.
A thing at the end of the Oblivion video that does show that they're doing something.
The question of, would convergence get a CID? If we haven't announced that anything massive is happening, but if convergence was getting a bunch of really cool stuff in the near future, then there would be a CID for it, because we usually CID larger block things.
Yeah.
If it was a smaller release, they might not. They might. And if, let's say, convergence was not getting anything, then we would address it through these kind of balance updates of what we're doing, of doing here. Yeah. But in case another CID was happening, if next year we release B faction or whatever it might be. So.
Yeah. And always keep in mind that the story of the game influences the release schedule of the game. So when you see something like the Convergence logo at the end of the Oblivion thing, maybe that's a hint about.
No, it's a massive hint.
Yeah, what's coming.
I mean,
yeah,
there's stuff coming. We didn't just show that would be awful to show the Convergence logo.
Look at this.
At the end,
really happening over here.
And just be like Convergence, and then people would be like, oh, and then we're like, nothing. Like
that would be the ultimate sleight of hand redirect though. You're like, look at this Convergence thing. Look at this Convergence thing. Oh no, this other thing happened.
So Infernal show up, right?
It's not going to be bees.
Order of Illumination is trying to fight them directly, and they're stealing souls. And then you've got this machine cult that has a way to keep people's souls inside machines to keep them safe. I wonder if they'll have anything to do in fighting off the Infernals, or if the Infernals will be really, really really unhappy about
Wait,
it.
what-
The
what's-
answer
What's happening?
The
right
answer
now?
is yes. The answer is yes. Obviously, Convergence is going to play a big part in the upcoming Infernal fight, and they will be receiving some new models. But we're not going to talk about how many or what that means just yet. That is a ways off. So I think that's all that we've got to talk about today, yeah? Mm-hmm. Sweet. So we'll be
Someone
back.
said they heard the pig, so I had to give him some microphone time. He's way down here on the table, just peeking every once in a while. Yeah, I think we're done. Yeah.
I'm just staring at you playing with a toy pig, and you're just being like, we're done.
Yeah.
I love my job.
Outro ever.
It's the best outro ever. Everyone, thanks for joining us. Please join us next week where we'll be talking more. We'll see which theme forces we'll be covering then. We'll do some more point drop spoilers or any other rules changes. And also keep an eye on the insiders. I know this week Thornfall's going up, and I don't know when yours is going up, but we've got a list of insiders coming up that's going to spoil more and more and more stuff. So stay tuned. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you soon. Bye, everybody.
I have so many pig plans for the future.
Jesus. The whole back end of that was just you playing with a toy pig.